I'm Junnun. I'm a student of International Relations at the University of Rajshahi. So my today's topic of discussion is a topic that in terms of savagery, few periods in history could compare to the 100 days between April and June in 1994 throughout the landlocked African nation of Rwanda. The very lowest estimate state that half a million people died during the Rwandan genocide, though the official governmental statistics top 1 million deaths. This was brutality on an unimaginable scale, as ethnic tension gave way to murder at a speed that not even the Nazis managed to achieve. The Rwandan genocide was staggering on so many levels. It managed to draw in many in the population through a steady stream of propaganda that not only underpins the idea of racial superiority, but also the need to exterminate a sizable section of the population. However, this is a story of two groups who lived side by side for hundreds of years and who passed the pattern of superiority and racial subjugation um, between them until it erupted into mass murder on a shocking scale. The tension between the two groups led to many refugee crises throughout the history of the country. In pre-colonial era, Tutsi tribe were cattle owners and they used to dominate over the Hutu tribe, who were agriculturalists. But both of them maintained symbiotic relations with each other. But during the colonial period, at the period of Belgian rule, the Morten law granted power to Tutsis that led to the emergence of Hutu Emancipation Movement Party, and in response to this party, Tutsi created their own organization, Union National Rwandais. The result was the first major ethnic clash. Thousands of Tutsis were killed, and some 20,000 Rwandans went into exile. And this was the first major refugee group. The clash between the two groups continued until 1961, where Hutus launched 10 major attacks against the Tutsis. And after the independence in 1962, Hutus gained the power in the new government. Therefore, many Tutsis fled as refugees into Tanzania and Uganda. Although things were quiet for a while, but Hutu gangs went on killing sprees of their Tutsi countrymen. And following these events, by 1963, in Uganda, there were between 200,000 and 500,000 mostly Tutsi refugees. The fleeing Tutsis in Uganda built a armed rebel group known as the RPF, Rwandan Patriotic Front. RPF began military operations into Rwanda, and by January 1993, the activity of RPF had almost destabilized Rwanda. However, during April, May, and June, Hutu majority rioted and killed 500,000. Most of them were Tutsis. And in retaliation to this, by July 1994, Tutsi rebels attacked and completely ousted Hutu-dominated government. Then Hutus feared their lives, and many fled to their neighboring countries. At the end of April, Tanzania reported having 250,000 uh, Hutu refugees, and by the end of May, 300,000 refugees were reported to be in the Tanzania, and at the same time, 1 million refugees were reported to have fled Rwanda to Zaire in one day. And in April 1995, 50,000 Rwandan refugees fled Burundi, while Tanzania closed their border after only 1,700 had entered. Moreover, the condition inside the refugee camp was worse. Hutu and Tutsis were residing along with each other, and many armed soldiers, militias were interspersed with the civilian in those camps. And in this situation, UN was unwilling to send peacekeepers to police the refugee camps. It was totally given on the UNHCR, but UNHCR was dealing with its own difficulties. By 1995, it was running out of money to meet the overwhelming needs of so many refugees. And at the same time, Zaire was running out of tolerance for the refugees, and various refugee camps was running out of food. And on the other hand, aid agencies suspended aid because of poor application of human rights. However, it affected the global politics, and following this event, the weaknesses of UN were exposed, and it was brutally criticized uh, for unable to provide its maximum support. Mainly, the neighboring countries of Rwanda were affected badly, especially countries like Tanzania, Burundi, and Zaire, who took refugees in their border. These countries were dealing with their own racial issues, and none of them had a stable economy. The refugee for these countries was like to pour water on a drowned mouse. In Uganda, a huge number of Rwandan refugees took part in armed camp against Ugandan government. They joined Museveni's National Resistance Army against Obote. Later in 1986, NRA took power in Uganda. Following this event, the reputation of the colonial countries were severely damaged, as their response towards the event was too weak, that highlighted the lack of value of black lives in compared to the whites. For example, we can pick the Bosnian genocide. The response of Western countries in the case of Bosnian crisis was far more better than in the case of Rwandan. Um, However, the following these events, UK made an agreement with Rwanda, the deportation of asylum seeker in Rwanda, that is being criticizing for both good and bad side. Thank you guys for listening.